As was stated before, my name is Mark Bakk. I'm our Director of Finance. I oversee the finance and accounting as well as the billing and the call center functions at LCP. And I'm here representing the administrative committee of the board, chaired by Bob Bruckbauer and also consisting of Jim Huta and Don Simons. Now, Bill had some interesting stuff and some funny stuff in his, and I was going to start mine with a joke for you, but then I remembered that I'm an accountant and a CPA by trade, so whatever joke I decided to tell you, I'd probably be the only guy in the room who thought it was funny. So I'll spare you that misery. I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to go over the results of our financial audit for 2011, take you through an overview of our statement of operations for 2011, and then get further into details on revenues and expenses, as well as wholesale costs and our operating margin. And at the end, I'll give you a quick update on where we stand as far as kilowatt hour sales and revenue through the end of April for 2012. For the financial audit, the board engaged the firm of Brady Martz and Associates out of Grand Forks, North Dakota. And they were engaged to, and I'll just use the technical terms right here from their letter, they plan and perform the audits in order to obtain reasonable assurance of whether the financial statements of Lake Country Power are free from material misstatements. When the audit was all over, we received what's called an unqualified opinion. That's what we're after. That's a clean opinion. And it means that the financial statements present fairly in all material aspects the financial position of Lake Country Power. The 2011 statement of operations, I'll take you to the column on the far right side. The top row is our revenues. We finished 2011 0.5% under budget for revenues. And a few lines below that is we were able to hold our expenses 1.3% under budget. And like was talked about before, there were some steps taken in there that weren't easy, but we were able to hold that under because we knew our kilowatt hour sales were going to be under budget. And on the very bottom line, our total net margin, or in a standard for-profit business, that would be your net income. We finished $165,000 under budget, which amounts to about 3.5%. Some further detail on our sources of our revenue for 2011. Residential consumers make up about 93% of our consumer base, and they provided just under 80% of our total revenue for 2011. Commercial and industrial ratepayers represent about 6% of our consumer base, and they provided 19% of the revenue in 2011. We have one resale customer, and the small chunk up here that's other, that's mainly street and highway lighting, as well as some other small miscellaneous things. For our expenses, as you know, the largest component of our expenses is wholesale power. For 2011, it was about 54% of our total cost. Distribution, operations, and maintenance of the electrical distribution system was 14%. That's a large component of our expenses. The depreciation and interest costs you see on the far left here, those are ownership costs directly associated with building and maintaining the distribution system. So if you add all those together, about 85% of our costs are directly related to the distribution of electricity to your homes and businesses. Here's a history of wholesale power costs dating back to 2000. You see in 2000, and Greg mentioned this before, it was just over $20 million annually for Lake Country Power for the cost of wholesale power that we pay to Great River Energy. We expect that number in 2012 to exceed $40 million. That continues to be the largest driver of the increased cost of electricity for you, our members. Put this up here. This is our operating margin from our sale of electricity. Basically, it's the net income we make off of our electric operations. As you can see, the last few years we've had decreased margins from the sale of electricity. We've done that on purpose. We've done that to mitigate any rate impacts that you, our ratepayers, might have. That is not an approach that's sustainable long term. As costs continue to rise, our margins need to rise proportionately to those costs in order to maintain the financial health of the cooperative. If we don't do that, then that margin as a percentage just keeps getting smaller and smaller, and then it won't be adequate to meet the needs that are required by our lenders. Here's a snapshot of where we are through April for kilowatt hour sales and revenue. The horizontal lines, it's hard to see this top one, but the black one there is actual kilowatt hour sales through the first 4 months of the year. These little gray triangles are what we had budgeted to see for kilowatt hour sales. So we've been significantly under budget through April. I'm sure it's not so far back that you can't remember the historically mild winter we just finished up with. The vertical bars are revenue in dollars. Again, the one on the left is budgeted revenue, and the one on the right is actual revenue. Again, when our kilowatt hour sales go down in our current rate structure, our revenues go down, and it's financially harmful to the cooperative. Through April, we're about 10% under our kilowatt hour sales budget numbers. So that's the extent of what I have to go over for you. I will be around. I'm sure Derek and Bill and some others will be around after the meeting if you have any questions on anything I went over. So thank you.